There's something interesting about small towns. Most people pass through them without thinking twice. A gas stop, a shortcut, a name on a road sign. But if you slow down long enough, places like this start talking to you. Not loudly, quietly. Through old buildings, empty storefronts, cracked sidewalks,
Morning, how
faded
you doing today?
signs that have somehow
Pretty
outlived the
good.
businesses they once advertised. And walking through Grantville, you start realizing this town isn't trying to impress anybody. It just is. And honestly, there's something refreshing about that. Because today, everything feels like it has to perform. People perform online, businesses perform, and even happiness feels performative sometimes. Everybody's trying to look polished, successful, important. But towns like this remind you that there's a difference between being real and being impressive. And real usually lasts longer. You can tell this place has changed over time. Some buildings have been fixed up, and some are hanging on. Some feel frozen in another decade entirely. And maybe that's why places like this feel human, because people are the same way. Some parts of us are restored, some parts are still broken. And some parts we try to hide because we think damaged things lose their value, but they don't. And a town doesn't stop mattering because part of it needs rebuilding. And people don't either. I think that's one reason abandoned places fascinate people so much. It's not really about the buildings, it's about seeing evidence that something mattered once. A business, a dream, a family, a life. And maybe deep down, people are afraid of becoming forgotten themselves. That one day the world just moves on around them. But walking through towns like Grantville reminds me that being quiet and being meaningless are not the same thing. Some of the most important things in life happen quietly. Healing happens quietly, growth happens quietly, character gets built quietly. Most real change doesn't arrive with fireworks. It happens one decision at a time, one hard season at a time, one ordinary day at a time. And I think that's why slower places can feel more honest. There's less distraction, less noise trying to convince you that your worth is tied to attention. Because attention is temporary. Everything online moves fast now. Trends change overnight, people become famous overnight, and people also disappear overnight. But places like this move differently. And honestly, maybe human beings were never designed to move at the speed the world moves now. Maybe that's why so many people feel exhausted all the time. When you walk through a small town, you start noticing details you'd completely miss in a city. The sound of traffic in the distance, a screen door closing somewhere, an old church sitting quietly at the end of the street. And it makes you realize how much of life people overlook because they're always rushing toward the next thing, the next job, the next goal, the next version of themselves. But eventually you reach a point where you understand that life is not just about arrival. It's also about attention, about actually seeing where you are while you're there. Because one day, even the moments that feel ordinary now will become memories. One day, the places you drive past every day will look different. One day, the people you assumed would always be around won't be. And maybe that's why places with history feel emotional, because they remind us that time never stops moving. Every town becomes a time capsule eventually, and honestly, so do people. We can usually tell what a town used to be by what's left behind. Old signs, old buildings, old roads leading to places that mattered years ago. And people are like that too. Sometimes you can tell what someone's been through by what they carry quietly. Not every scar is visible. Not every struggle announces itself. Everybody has a public version and a private version. There's the version the world sees, and then there's the unseen part. The disappointments, the losses, the fears people learn to live beside. And that's why I think kindness matters more than people realize, because you never really know what somebody is carrying beneath the surface. Towns have hidden stories, and people do too. And maybe that's why the real value in slowing down long enough to walk places like this, not because Grantville is perfect, not because it's flashy, but because places like this still feel connected to something real, something grounded, something human. It's interesting. The town was used in The Walking Dead, a show built around survival after everything falls apart. But standing here now, the thing that stands out to me isn't destruction, it's endurance. Life continuing quietly. People waking up, going to work, talking to neighbors, living ordinary lives. And maybe resilience isn't always dramatic. Maybe resilience is just continuing. Continuing after disappointment. Continuing after failure. Continuing after life turns out different than we expected. There's strength in that. Real strength. And maybe places like Grantville remind us of something the modern world forgets sometimes. Worth is not measured by noise. Not everything valuable is famous. Not everything meaningful goes viral. Some things matter simply because they're real. And maybe people do too. That's going to just about do it for today's video. Thank you all for coming along and spending a little time with me in Grantville. Hope you enjoyed the video. Until next time, I'm Red. Keep exploring, and as always, I appreciate each and every one of you, and thanks again. Y'all have a great day.